This is Valerie.
And this is Jacinta.
And you're listening to Catholics, a Catholic podcast by millennials for millennials.
Thanks for tuning in.
Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for joining us for yet another installment of Catholics podcast, coming to you live from not one, but two, because we like to do things extra with Catholics.
Because we're extra over here.
Extra. So we are coming to you from two cities, from Mountain Time and from the Great Midwest. So we're coming to you from Denver, Colorado, colorful, beautiful, amazing, wonderful Colorado, and coming to you from, I don't have a thing for St. Louis because I haven't been here that long. Coming to you from
crime-filled, dangerous.
Yeah.
The arch.
SPL, yeah.
The free things, all the free things.
All the things, yes. And there's good people here. So coming to you from
there are good people there.
The beautiful Midwest, a place that I never thought I'd end up, but the Lord does some amazing things. And this ties into our episode because we're going to be talking about tips for moving to a new city. Because let's be honest, I've done that a couple times, and Valerie has just made a huge move to Denver, Colorado. So
I did. I met Jacinta in St. Louis.
Whoop whoop.
In case you're wondering how we met in St. Louis, and then I, a few short months later, took a job in Denver, Colorado, and moved just 3 short weeks ago. So,
she's abandoned me.
Stop that.
I mean, you know I'm joking, right? You know.
I know, but don't make me feel bad, man.
Okay. I that's not my intention to make you feel bad.
I know it's not, and I don't feel bad.
Okay. It doesn't sound
God has led me here, and I'm very sure of that. And that's why we thought it would be great to share some tips that we have, because we both experienced moving, and not even so much just moving, but you can apply a lot of these tips into just changes in life. You know, like if you have a new job, or if you're just moving out of college and you're like kind of moving on your own. So it can kind of work for just moving from one phase of life to another too, I would think.
Yeah. And then if you get caught in a rut and you're like, I just do the same stuff all the time, like mix it up a bit. Find some fun restaurants. Meet new people.
So So even if you're seeing this episode or you're listening to it, and you're like, well, I'm not moving. I'm never moving. I don't need these tips. I think they're just helpful for young people in general. So
yes, exactly. So one of the first tips for moving to a new city, though, I've moved to Philadelphia and to Denver, and now to St. Louis. Yeah. Wow. But tips for that is like I moved to Philly for a job, and so when I moved there, I was in set community because my work provided me that set community.
Right.
So it's important to come into community, and that's something you have done moving to Colorado because you have set community there at the Augustine Institute. So can you tell us how that, in your 3 weeks there, how that has helped you and how you feel more grounded there because of that?
Sure. So I think my case scenario is very interesting because, like you said, you moved from Colorado. So I had a lot of mutual friends through you that I still have the potential of meeting.
Yes.
But specifically with the Augustine Institute, I have multiple coworkers who are around the same age as me. So I immediately have those work friends and we've also hung out outside of work. You know, they've taken me in and helped show me around. And I also moved in. I had community built in because I moved in with a roommate. So we've become very close and we get along very well and do stuff together.
That's awesome.
So between my house where I'm living and work, I do have kind of these set communities and friendships that I've already built.
Yes.
Which is helpful with the transition for sure.
Yeah, and that's totally helpful to make you feel grounded and like
and make it feel a little more like home.
Make it feel home-like. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I get that.
But I want to go ahead and skip to the flip side of that.
Sure.
I feel like when you already have a set community, it's easier to stay in that community and not allow yourself to go meet other people.
Yes.
Because you already have a couple of friends and you go, oh well, this is good enough.
Yes.
And you're not forced to go out and do things. So it is helpful to still find other communities that you can involve yourself in. So one great way is if you do have set community, they might invite you to go do things with them and meet some of their friends. So your community will grow from them. That's one great way.
Yes.
I think another great way is to think of things you like. So if you're a faithful person or a spiritual person of some sorts and you're from some faith background,
Yes.
get connected with the church, get connected with a group of people that are like-minded like that.
Yeah.
If you're really into politics, maybe find a local like political group or something that you know, if you are involved in the pro-life movement, get involved in a pro-life group. If you like to run, find a running club, right? Any hobby groups, like there's all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Um, a book club, any of those things. And you may try one and not like it. Like when you go to a new place, just allow yourself to kind of try to get involved in whatever interests you. And that's a good way to meet people that are like minded.
Yeah, and you mentioned something before about like if you these are good tips for even if you're just staying in one place because I've met people who like obviously we're involved in the Catholic community, you and I. So like moving to a new city it's like, "Oh, I'll just get involved in Catholic young adult stuff. This will be fine." But I've also met people like who have lived in the same city that I've lived in for a while and the Catholic scene is new to them. So it just opens up a whole new world of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do Versati sports, or in Denver it's Catholic Young Adult Sports, or I'm gonna
Hmm.
get involved with the Catholic Young Adult Sports Club. I'm gonna get involved in this Bible study. I'm gonna get involved in Theology on Tap, and that's like a whole new world to them. So even if you're not moving, like these are good tips just to um, get plugged in and to
Where you're
meet
at.
new
Yeah.
people and to
Yeah.
not stagnate in life because we're made to thrive. Um, and sometimes it's easy to get caught into a routine and then you get caught into a place where I like to have like some excitement in life. So for instance, I'm still like I don't know all there is to know about St. Louis. I've only been here 4 months, okay? So my knowledge of St. Louis is very very limited and I know that. So for instance, like this weekend I went to a new area for brunch with people that I had never gone to brunch with before and that was like even just that small thing I was like, oh, this is awesome, like I'm meeting new people and I'm going to this cool new brunch spot. I love brunch and I love trying new restaurants, so it's
Yeah.
just like, wow, this is awesome. We need these things in life to like keep the
Right. So
excitement
even if you've
going.
been in an area for a while, like trying new things can be a great way to just like revitalize your spirit for a little bit, you know?
Exactly.
So open yourself up to new people and new opportunities and things where you're at, whether that's a new place or an old place and you just need a little change of pace.
Exactly. By the way, you gotta try jelly. Have you heard of jelly yet in Colorado or in Denver? I mean,
No.
okay, jelly's a cool brunch spot. And then there's this Cajun place, but it's slipping my mind. We'll have to go when I visit next weekend.
Where did you go to brunch in St. Louis this weekend?
Somewhere in Soulard. It's called Hammer. Man, I don't even remember the name. Hold on.
That's okay. You know more about St. Louis than I did, and I lived there for 5 years. So
Wow. What is this? Oh, Hammerstones in Soulard. Very cool brunch
hmm,
spot. Um,
cool.
I do have a little bit of a bone to pick because my friends know that I was craving biscuits and gravy all morning. That's like my
And
jam
they
for
and they
brunch. I
didn't
don't
have
get it
that.
all the time. They ran out of biscuits after I placed my order, so I
No.
compromised. Yeah, I compromised with Texas toast.
Okay.
Um, it was okay. It was okay,
Well, I
but I
guess you know
still
it's a good place if they run out of biscuits.
yeah.
That,
So that
that's
was
cool.
funny. Yeah. Okay. So got to take that into consideration. Going into community, jumping into community, find your squad, but also be open to meeting new people. Am I right or am I right?
You're right. You're right. You're right. I
Okay. And
think
then
we
you,
also kind of started talking about this. Find so like this is kind of a twofold. So like we were just talking about it. Find new restaurants, stores, places. Like find new things that you haven't seen that you want to visit because that
hmm
can like explore the city, find new things you want to try. But on the flip side, when I was looking at moving here, I kind of like looked to see how close I would be to some of my favorite restaurants and my favorite stores, like that are chains that are all across the country, because
yeah,
sometimes you just want to go get your favorite food. And for me, like I love Qdoba. So like I haven't gone yet, but there's probably going to be a time that I'm like, you know what, I really want Qdoba, and I can still have that here because it's a chain. So that's
yeah.
a beauty of a chain restaurant or like a chain store. Like I
It's
also love going shopping at like certain places like Ross or things like that, and they have those here too. So like that's also like a way to make it kind of feel more like home, is eating things that you still ate back home, going to places that you went to back home. So you don't
Yeah,
have to completely change what you're doing. Like find things you like to do that are the same in both cities.
yeah, that familiarity is another way to make it feel like home, you know?
Yeah, which I think can be super helpful. I know
Yeah.
it has been helpful for me. And like another thing that was helpful for me, like you said, make it feel like home. For me, the
Mhm.
first week I was out here, I went and got my new license plates. I went and got my license for the state of Colorado. I went and got my library card. Like I did all those little things that like I'm staying here. Like I have a
Yeah,
Colorado license. I have Colorado plates. Like
that's
I
so
made it
interesting.
home. You know, I
Yeah,
immediately want for me, and that's just a personal thing. Not everyone cares about those things, but for me, when I have a license that says from the state of Colorado, that makes I'm now officially a Colorado resident, and this is home.
yeah. I'm not ready to
So
switch over my place to Missouri. First of all, because I think the Colorado plate is really cool looking, so I'm gonna keep that as long as I can.
yeah, I don't know how that works. I don't know at what point they go, ma'am, you do not have a Colorado address anymore. I don't
Yeah,
know how that works.
um,
Because
yeah,
you still have your Colorado driver's license too, don't you?
I do.
Because I
Yeah,
know for me, like when I got my Colorado license, I had 30 days that since I own my car, I had to get Colorado plates too because they want you to pay their taxes. So right now you're still paying Colorado taxes.
yeah. Yeah, I'll figure that out another time.
Anyway, for me that just made it feel more like home.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that's great. That's good. Yeah. Doing all of those things is a good thing. Yeah. I kind of need to switch my license just because I'm not a fan of my picture. But let's be honest, who wants to spend unnecessary time at the DMV?
I know. It's
I'm
so
sorry.
true.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. Ugh, the DMV. I always forget, side note, but I always go to the DMV and then they're like, "Do you have this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I need that?" "Nope, I don't. Guess I'll have to go home and come back." It never fails. I always have to go multiple times because I don't have the right stuff with me.
It's the worst. It's the worst. It's the
Yeah,
absolute
I don't know
worst.
why I don't just always take my paperwork of, like, important folder things, you know, like, just take everything because 'cause you're gonna need it all
Yeah.
at the DMV.
Your social security card, your birth certificate, all the things.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's another thing, like, if you're moving to a new city and your parents like, for me, when I lived in St. Louis, my parents were only an hour and a half away, so they still had my birth certificate, they still had my social security, like, they still had some of the paperwork stuff that I needed, like, if you're moving away from everyone, make sure you have what you need, like, make sure you're not having to call your parents and be like, "Oh, I need my, ID or whatever," and they have it, like, make sure you have everything,
Mhm. Yeah, totally.
you
I
know?
love it. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a
So
good
so
way of
make sure
making
if you're
you
moving
feel like
way away
home.
from yeah.
I'm sorry, we're talking over each other. You go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you're moving away from your family, make sure you have all your paperwork, like, that you need, and that
Yes.
includes, like, birth
I have
certificate, social
like
security, all that.
yeah, I have like a little file cabinet that's like very organized, which you would probably be surprised. I do have that organized, like my important paperwork, college stuff, grad school stuff. Like
There you
uh
go.
everything is organized in that so that I know where to go to find that. So I'm not because I've moved a lot. So that's the one thing that I can have that's
Yes,
I know where to find all of that really, really important paperwork. It's all in
and
one
if you
place.
move, you do need all of that important stuff, like, for example, if you go to the DMV, you're gonna need that paperwork. If you go to, like, open a new bank account, you're gonna need all that paperwork.
Yep.
So, like, you wanna
You
make
want
sure
to go
that's in a
buy a
safe,
new car,
secure
you're going to need
location.
that paperwork. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so,
So,
fun story, I accidentally like, when I was first moved here, I had all that paperwork with me because I was, like, going to the I was going into the office and I had to show do some paperwork at my work, I had to go to the bank, I had to go run all those errands, and I was kind of doing that all in a couple of days. So I had this folder with me at all times when I was going to run these errands, and I left it at the AI and I didn't realize it,
oh
and
no.
I the next morning, I was like, where is this folder? Like, it has everything. Like, where is it?" And I called the AI and they were like, "Yeah, it's here in the coffee shop. Like, you can come get it." So I came and went and picked it up and I was like, "Oh my gosh." So on that note, don't take it like I was only taking it when I needed it, but make sure you're only taking it when you need it. Make
Yeah.
sure you lock it up in a secure like location. Make sure you are like just don't lose it, man. Don't lose it.
Right. And for our listeners, can you tell them what the AI is?
Oh, sorry, the AI is the Augustine Institute where I work.
Yes. And
Yeah,
where you're gonna go to school,
that's right, where I'm gonna start taking
where you're
classes.
gonna get that
Okay,
master's. All right.
that's right, man. Okay,
Cool.
we
I
talked
love
about community,
I love how
we
you
talked
said
about
because for our listeners, like we do like a spreadsheet of what we're going to talk about, and Valerie put on there force yourself to go out and do things, and then I put in quotations, who said that would be forced?
oh my gosh, I didn't even realize you put that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because for introverts like me, you do have to force yourself to go do things.
Can you tell people how you met the male version of me?
Yeah, so I forced myself to go to this new
See, you forced
people.
yourself. Yes.
It was a bad idea, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So on the flip side of this, at some point you have to force yourself and go out to do things. But also, if you go to something and like and you're going by yourself and you don't know anyone, like and that's not going to be fun, like don't go. Like don't
Right.
waste a night.
Yeah, no,
Like
totally. It's always
I
good
went
to
by my
go places with people. You feel more connected that way.
I went by myself and then I didn't know anyone and everyone was already kind of in their own groups and I was like this was dumb. So like if you can meet people like or you have mutual friends in the city already, kind of meet with them and then try to go meet people with them so you don't feel as awkward. Like
Mhm.
but there are times that you do have to go to force yourself to do things and talk to people and I don't know, so there's a balance there, but like don't force yourself all the time where then you're just burning yourself out and you're like this sucks.
Right.
Um yeah, so I met the male version of Jacinta at this thing. They were giving away a prize for who was the newest to Denver. So they were like, raise your hand if you've been here for less than 6 months. And they were like, keep your hands raised if you've been here for less than three, less than 1 month. And then they were like, less than 3 weeks. And we both still had our hands raised. And they were like, less than 2 weeks. And we both still had our hands raised because we had both been there less than 2 weeks at this point. And then they were like, if you've been here less than a week. And I was like, oh, I've been here longer than that because I had been there for like 12 days at this
Sure.
point. So I put my hand down and they were like, holy cow, because this other guy still had his hand raised. And they were like, how long have you been here? He's like, I got here Wednesday. This was Friday night. And we were like, holy cow.
And he already
So
went
I was
out.
talking to him. I was talking to him later because he was like, yeah, like you were the other girl that's really new, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I just moved here like a couple weeks ago. But I was like, you moved here like what, 3 days ago? He's like, yeah. He was like, so I got into Denver on Wednesday. He's like, I unpacked. I got in about 1 o'clock. I unpacked my car. He's like, I sold everything that I had and just fit everything into my car and drove out here.
That sounds
He's like, so I got out here at like 1 o'clock on Wednesday, and he's like, and I had concert tickets for 5:30 at Red Rocks. So he's like, I unpacked from 1 to 4, took a shower, and then went to Red Rocks and saw a concert at 5:30. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Did you think of me when he told you that?
Yes, because I was like, Jacinta would do that.
That is like me. That's crazy. Because whenever I moved to St. Louis, and I'm sure I have stories from moving to Colorado and Philadelphia and all that stuff. But whenever I moved to St. Louis, I drove to my new house, and then me and my new roommates unpacked all my stuff. That took like an hour. I didn't even unpack at that point. I just put the boxes in my room, and then we went to a bonfire party because it was like Memorial Day weekend, and it was
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah, I know it's not. I wanted to see human beings. I had been driving from Kansas City. That was like 3.5
See, I would have been like, I want to go to bed.
bed is for when you're dead. No, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I would love to meet this guy and be like, we are the same person. It's nice to meet you, and you're probably just as awesome as I am. I'm kidding. I'm also really humble too. But yeah, so I think these are all really great tips for moving to a new place and just to get connected with people and stay grounded. And one thing that we have not talked about yet, though, is prayer. And I know that whenever I moved to St. Louis, it was like, well, I have some family in Baldwin, so it wasn't like it was completely like I didn't know anybody.
Right.
But my friend Brett, shout out, he was on one of the other episodes. He was like, find a good adoration chapel because that will help you to feel like it's like you're grounded there, you know.
Yep.
So that would be my advice: is find your place to pray. And there's lots of places with perpetual adoration. So just look that up on the internet and like go and be with Jesus and let him guide you in this new journey in this new city, and um, to open your mind to who he wants you to meet and the experiences that he wants you to have. Like being grounded in prayer is really a good place to go. And um, I know I always feel better when I'm grounded in prayer and when I'm going to the
Right.
chapel and when I have a set place to go, a consistent place to go to pray. That is always a good thing. And that's another way to make it feel like home, is to have that consistent chapel, you know?
Right. Very true.
Yeah.
So
So,
I should have told you, but I was like, "Oh, we could save prayer for last." But you talked about it and it was great, but I have two other things I want to mention.
yes, let's go for it. We have all the
Okay.
time.
Yes. So the other big thing, and this is like a more serious like thing, would be like your finances. Because when you move to a new place, like the cost of living has probably changed,
Yes.
and your bills are a little different now. And a lot of that has to be done on like the front end of like, can I afford to move here? But then
Especially if
once you
it's
get there,
more
you also
expensive.
kind of have to.
Yeah.
Right. If it's more expensive or you're taking a pay cut or those kind of things. But then once you get there, if you've like, okay, I can make it work. Once you get there, you do kind of have to watch your spending and make sure you're like staying on budget. And once you realize how much you can, then you can go out a little more and make sure you're good to go. But I feel like it's easier when you're new to be like, well, I'm just going to go out and eat. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to go do this, do that. And before you know it, you're like, holy cow, I've spent a lot of money this month.
Yes, that
Like,
does happen.
and if you've started a new job, maybe you don't get paid right away either. So you're like, whoa, I've spent a lot of money and I haven't even gotten my first paycheck yet. So you really have to be careful of that when starting a new job and moving to a new city, is like watching your budget,
Yes.
making sure like you understand what your money's going to do for you in the new city, because it will probably be different.
Yeah, except for, you know what? I did not have that problem here in St. Louis because I just moved from
Well,
Denver.
because it's cheaper.
I was, like,
Yeah,
pinching pennies because I was in grad school and had 2 part-time
right.
jobs, and then I come here and I, like, have so much money. I'm like, "Oh my
So
gosh,
if you're
this
blessed
is
to be
great."
on that side of it, that's great.
Yeah, because St. Louis is, like, a more affordable city to live in,
Right.
so
Exactly.
yeah, but no, usually it's the other way around, and you're totally right
Right.
about that. Usually it is. So, uh
And even if you have more money, then the question goes, okay, are there new places that I want to donate to?
I
Are
know,
there new things I want to get involved in? Like you can look at
tithing.
those things too financially. Yeah.
Yeah, and tithing. One of my
Right.
friends scolded me about tithing even whenever I was in grad school because I'm like, I can't afford to tithe. And she was like, we're all called to tithe no matter what we're doing fine or how we are financially. And I was like, dang girl, all right.
I
So
know.
that really convicted me. So yes, I do tithe a little bit more now that I am able to. Praise the Lord.
Right. So you just kind of have to look at your finances,
Yeah,
and
we could do a
tithing is a
whole
whole other thing we can talk about, but because
yeah,
I know people have mixed opinions, but if you're listening to this, if you're like, I literally barely can pay my bills and sometimes I don't have enough food,
don't do it.
you have to
Yeah,
look at that.
yeah,
Don't be like, well, I'm going to have even less food now. Like, offer of yourself in other ways too. But
yeah,
if you are able to give, even if you're taking a pay cut and you're moving to a new city, you just have to reevaluate it, is all I'm saying,
yeah.
and pray about it. It looks different for everyone.
It does, and the situation is different too, so you gotta look at
Right,
that as
exactly.
well.
And I think we're all called to give, and hopefully at some point we're all able to give financially at different levels. But, if you're a student or you're in a really hard place, you might not be called to be giving financially right now, and that's okay.
Yes,
But when things change in life, you just have to kind of evaluate your situation. So,
totally.
and pray about it. Go back to praying about it too.
Yes.
Um, and then I feel like there was one other thing.
Yes,
Oh, the
so this
last
last
thing.
thing is taking time for yourself. Is that what you were wanting to talk about?
Yeah, because I feel like moving to a new city can be a lot. You're trying to unpack. You're trying to get everything in order. You have to think about a lot more things that were just natural in your new place that you have to think about more. You don't know how to get anywhere. You always have to GPS places.
Yes.
Um, your schedule is probably different. Your sleeping patterns might be a little different. You're living with new people. Like everything has changed, literally everything.
Yeah.
Um, I
So
think it's important to remind yourself of what you like to do at home. So if you liked watching TV or reading at home, make sure you take times to like just relax, to read a book, to watch a television show. If you have a dog, make sure to spend time with your dog. Like moving with an animal is a whole nother thing, you know? Um,
Bentley's living his
yeah,
best life out in
you just
Colorado.
want to make sure. Oh, Bentley's living his best life out here, y'all.
Yeah.
Bentley was made to live in Colorado. We went on a 7.5 mile hike yesterday with the 1,600 foot elevation change. He did the whole thing and drugged me back to the car and was like, "We done?" Because I didn't think I'm good. We're good. We want to do that again? And I was like, "No, we
Oh,
ain't doing that again."
that's cute.
Like he was a trooper. It was crazy.
Yeah, so
But
yeah, make sure you take some time for yourself. So I live 10 minutes away from Forest Park, which is one of the biggest parks in the. Is this a? I always.
probably it's probably one of the biggest in the country.
Yeah, so I've been going with one of my friends like a couple times a week, and we've just been walking up and down Forest Park, and it's just been really nice. I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy being outside and being in the beauty, and that's just something that I enjoy to do. So again, taking that time for yourself.
Yeah,
Uh,
because we all need that,
yeah.
especially when you're reevaluating literally and change. Like everything has changed.
Yeah, and one more thing, you mentioned like everything has changed. One thing I want to tack on is that so I heard on another podcast cuz when I first moved to Colorado, I was listening to this podcast about like tips for moving to a new place, and she said that if you move to a new place, make sure you get more sleep cuz your brain is actually overworking because
True.
you're in a new apartment, you're at a new job, you're with new people, so even like with mundane things like making a meal, your brain is like, "Oh, the spoons aren't in this place that I thought they were before." And so your mind is working harder. So make sure you
True.
get
I
more
have been a
sleep.
lot more tired.
Yeah. And
I
when I
took a
did
lot of when I first moved here, I hadn't even started working yet, but I would take a nap like every afternoon. And I was like, why am I so tired? And then I was like, you know what? It's okay. I need it right now.
well, maybe the
And then my
altitude.
first week of work, I was exhausted. And the altitude. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, you just have so many major changes, but it's all good things.
Yeah. And I'm still catching up. Like I was so tired today and I fell asleep on the couch reading a book. But I was like, you know what? It's Sunday. Like that's why we rest on Sundays. Like that's why I don't do work on Sundays.
Yes.
Um, so make sure to take the time to recoup and make sure you're eating well, and if you need to exercise, like if that's important to you, make sure you're still taking care of yourself in the way you would have taken care of yourself at home, if not even a little better.
Yeah.
And
So,
I will say a great thing about moving, I personally think if there's like something that you've been wanting to change in your routine or like a bad habit that you've been wanting to kick, moving's a great time to do that because everything has changed. So like if you wanted to start getting up earlier but you could never get yourself to do it, when you move, it's a great time to switch that up a little bit, I think, because everything else is changing, so like you could adjust other little things that you've wanted to, I think. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
no, it totally does. Because actually, when I first moved to Colorado, other than I had a mentor who was like, Jacinta, you should get up at like 5 in the morning to do your reading for grad school, which was insane.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, she's superwoman, so it's hard to
Wow.
meet her standards. She's amazing, but so instead of getting more sleep, I actually got less, but it was fine. I
See,
did okay. I
that's yeah,
thrived.
that's where you have to find the balance of,
Well, I got up
okay, I
at
do want to start getting
5:30.
up earlier. Do what? Say that again?
Oh, I got up at 5:30, so that was my medium.
Okay. And I feel like if sleep is a schedule that you want to change or that you have to change, if that means if your sleep schedule is changing that you need to get up earlier or you want to get up earlier, make sure you're still getting enough sleep though. So that means you probably need to go to bed earlier. But like there's things you can't adjust, or if you always ate super unhealthy at your old, in your old city and you want to start eating healthier, like that's a great time to do it. Like start cooking at home, start trying out new recipes. Like
Yes.
I've tried so many new foods since I've been here that I've never tried. Like so that's cool.
Yeah, that's because Denver is all about the health, and it's easier to get on board with that when everybody around you is doing
Sure.
that. I remember I was on keto diet when I was in Denver, which
True.
yeah, you know all about that from my old coworkers, your coworkers. Um, but
Yeah. So a
uh,
couple of funny things that if you move to a city that will happen probably because these happen to me. So I've like still have, things on Facebook that'll pop up for St. Louis. And there's
Yeah.
been more than once. I'm like, wow, that looks fun. I should go to that. And then I'm like, oh wait, I'm not actually there anymore. Like you
Oh,
forget that you've moved. Or
yeah.
like you see someone on Facebook and you're like, I should hang out with them. Oh wait, and I can't anymore. Like they're way far away now. What else happened recently? Oh, the other day someone was like, I'm having a party. Like, what are some good appetizers? And I almost was like, oh, toasted ravioli. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's not a thing here.
Oh, it's so
Like,
hard to switch over, Val. I did the same thing from
so
Denver to here.
crazy. Like I still think I'm in St. Louis.
Yeah, it's so hard to mentally make that switch. That takes time.
Yes.
That takes
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes I
Because
feel like
even like
go ahead.
even when I was saying about like how I got my new license plates, I would go out to my car and be like, Colorado plates. Whoa, that's weird. Like that's my car now.
Yeah.
You know, like mentally, I don't think mentally I've realized that I'm in Denver yet. Like I go out and look at the mountains and I'm like, holy cow, I'm actually here.
See, the opposite was for me because I would go outside and I'd be like, "Where are the mountains?" And I'd be driving, and I'd
Yeah.
look at the horizon, I'd be like, "Where are the mountains?" And it took me so long
Yeah.
to get used to not seeing the mountains and to not
Right.
thinking that I'm in Denver, and it was
Right.
all it's an adjustment, that's for sure.
Yeah. You have to give yourself patience and grace through it because
Yes.
like it's going to be harder. You're going to need to sleep a little more. You're going to, maybe not always feel your best because everything's changed, but give yourself some grace and give yourself some time to adjust.
Yeah, and another thing that with the time and with the change that I've struggled with is like with meeting people because I've met so many people in so many different places that I'm like I think it's really caught up to me here in St. Louis because it's been embarrassing the amount of times that I will have to meet the same person to remember who they are. I'm like
Yeah.
I've met you like 5 times and my brain cannot compute because my brain
But you've
is
met
still
so many
in
people.
Denver. Yeah,
Right.
and it's not here in
And
St.
that's okay.
Louis.
It takes some time.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if you've had that issue too, but
I haven't met that many people yet, but yeah, I've always had that issue.
oh, with remembering people.
It takes multiple people. I have to meet people multiple times before I like remember them.
Yeah,
That's just a me thing, but I'm sure that will happen to me here too.
for sure.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode.
Do you have any other tips before we wrap up, girlfriend?
Probably a million, but there's a lot.
Yeah, so basically the big takeaway is just give yourself some time, do things you love, make yourself feel at home.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah. True. Very, very true.
And
I agree with all those statements.
all the
All right. Well, thank you for listening. As always, if you're not following us yet and want to subscribe, that would be awesome. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also, if you're so inclined, to go leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. That helps us out a ton. As well as following us on Instagram. We are at Catholics Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next week.
Bye.